Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Nazar Aiman bin Muhammad Nazi, metric number S50743. I would like to share about our project. Our project title is Role of Termites in the Ecosystem of Kampung Tok Je. Termites are considered pests by humans. Wood-based furniture often eats away. Therefore, we would like to know its role in maintaining the ecosystem at the same time to determine the factor that affect the composition rate of woody material.
For the research question is, does size of wood affect the time taken for termite to decompose it? Secondly, does type of wood affect the time taken for termites to compose it? Okay, for the hypothesis of this experiment is the bigger the wood, the longer time taken for the termites to decompose the wood. And the other one is the harder the wood, the longer time taken for the termites to decompose it. Okay, for the objective of this experiment is to determine the relationship between size of wood and the time taken for the termites to decompose the wood. Next is to determine the relationship between the type of wood and the time taken for the termites to decompose it.
Now, we can see the effects of termites in the ecosystem of Kampung Tok Je. For example, we can see the feeding behavior from the woods at this sampling site. So, we need to prepare a sample of termites and 3 pieces of wood with different size and types. So let's look at this.
This is the biggest type of wood, which is we need to observe their feeding mechanism of this. And the other two is medium size and the smallest size of the wood. So if you can see clearly, there's some
Termites.
There's some termites there. Yes. So they are doing their feeding mechanism to decompose the woods. In these 4 to 6 weeks, we need to carry out this observation repeatedly to make sure the data that is collected are accurately. Okay, so for the methodology, we need to identify the population size and also sampling size. So for this experiment, there are approximately 600 of termites that have been identified by using simple random sampling method. So the best statistical analysis we use to conduct this experiment is ANOVA. This is because ANOVA method we use to comparing between two or more samples at one time. So for example, in this experiment we used to compare between 3 population size in 3 different types of wood, which is the smallest, medium and the largest. So we need to identify their time taken on how they decompose between 3 different types of woods. Okay.
For the graph size of woods against weeks, we can see that the increased size of woods will increase the time taken for termites to decompose the woods. For example, the woods that had 72 centimeters squares, we can see that the time taken for termites to decompose the woods is 4 weeks. For the size of wood 160 centimeters squares, the time taken for termites to decompose the woods is 5.5 weeks. And for the size of wood 270 centimeters squares, the time taken for termites to decompose the woods is 6 weeks. Based on the graph of type of woods against weeks, we can see that the type of woods, plywood, have the least time taken for termite to decompose the woods, that is 4 weeks. For the Molonuk type, the time taken for termites to decompose the woods is 5 weeks. And for Jerjak type of woods, the time taken for termites to decompose the woods is 6 weeks.